Can you please tell me the first letter of your postal code?
M.
M as in Mary?
Yes.
Thank you. What grade is your child or children in this school year?
Grade 7.
Thank you. Please note that this call may be recorded for quality assurance. I'd like to ask you a few questions about the plans for return to school this month. As you may know, the government has implemented a back-to-school plan that includes a return to classroom learning for all students, with elementary students attending 5 days a week and high school students receiving a mix of in-person and online learning. Safety measures include physical distancing and masking. All students have the option to take all classes remotely. Based on what you've seen and heard, overall, do you approve or disapprove of the way the Ontario government is handling the return to school? Do you strongly disapprove, somewhat disapprove, somewhat approve, or strongly approve?
Strongly approve.
Thinking about the Ontario government's back-to-school plan as you understand it, please indicate if each of the following makes you much more comfortable with the plan, somewhat more comfortable, somewhat less comfortable, or much less comfortable with the plan. The plan will include more effective remote computer learning, which is teacher-led, predictable, live, and on a regular daily schedule. Does that make you more comfortable with the plan or less comfortable with the plan?
More comfortable.
Did you say much more comfortable or somewhat more comfortable?
Much more.
Ontario Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Williams, has endorsed the plan. Does that make you more or less comfortable with the plan?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Williams, has endorsed the plan. Does that make you much more comfortable, somewhat more comfortable, somewhat less comfortable, or much less comfortable?
Much more comfortable.
Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health contributed significantly to the development of the back-to-school plan. How comfortable does that make you?
Much more comfortable.
With children back at school, as you hear news of student cases and outbreaks in school in Ontario and other provinces, to what extent does this news affect your comfort with the back-to-school approach in this province? Would you say it affects it to a great extent, somewhat, very little, or not at all?
Very little.
Regardless of what is actually happening with your child, now that students are back to school, which of the following would be your preference to keep kids safe? Would you prefer that the back-to-school approach was 100% remote, online learning, with no time physically in school buildings? Would you prefer a mix of part-time in-school learning and at-home remote learning, or 100% in-person, in-class, in school? What would be your preference?
I think I'm comfortable with going back to school, but some people may not. So I think now is optional.
Okay, so what would be your preference in order to keep kids safe? What would you like them to do? Remote, a mix of half and half, part-time at school, part-time at home, or 100% in school? What would you like to have seen done? And if you don't know, that's okay too. You can tell me that.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. And thinking of these options, what approach did you decide on for your youngest school-age child? Is it a mix of school and online learning at home? Are you keeping them at home and using online teaching resources, or send them to school as normal? What are you doing with your child?
Send to school as normal.
Recently, the province has reported that rates of COVID-19 infection are increasing in some regions of the province. Knowing this, will you reconsider the plans you've made for your children's return to school?
No.
I'm sorry, say that again?
No, I keep my decision.
Okay, thank you. Now that kids from kindergarten to high school are physically in class, how important is each of the following measures? Please indicate if each measure is very important, somewhat important, not very important, or not important at all. Mandatory cloth masks for all staff and students. How important is that?
Very important.
Requiring students and staff to have their temperature checked daily before entering. How important is that?
I think very important.
Reduce class sizes for all grades to cohorts of 15.
Very important.
Sending students and staff home who are sick.
Very important.
Using a combination of in-person and remote learning to reduce the number of students in the building at one time.
Very important.
Practicing physical distancing everywhere in the school, including entrances, libraries, and the gym.
Can you repeat, please?
Sure. Practicing physical distancing everywhere in the school, including entrances, libraries, and the gym.
Very
Is that
important.
fair? Rearranging classrooms to allow students to be as physically distant as possible.
Very important.
Increase cleaning protocols and cleaning staff.
Very important.
Very important, somewhat important, not very important, or not important at all.
Very important.
Personal protective equipment for all staff.
Not. Just the mask.
Okay, well, it doesn't
So-
specify. This says personal protective equipment.
Yeah. So very important.
Requiring all staff and students to use hand sanitizer or wash hands regularly. How important is that?
Very important.
Now, thinking of those same safety measures, please indicate if you've seen or heard evidence of the following in your child's school. Have you seen or heard anything that they're using mandatory cloth masks for all staff and students at your child's school?
Yes.
Are they requiring students and staff to have their temperature checked daily before entering?
I'm not sure.
Reduce class sizes for all grades to cohorts of 15.
Not sure. Don't know.
Sending students and staff home who are sick.
Maybe.
Using a combination of in-person and remote learning to
No.
reduce the number of students
No.
in the building at one time.
No.
Practicing physical distancing everywhere in the school,
Yes.
including entrances. Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
Thank you. Rearranging classrooms to allow students to be as physically distant as possible.
Yes.
Increasing cleaning protocols and cleaning staff.
Not sure.
Personal protective equipment for all
Yes.
staff.
Yes.
Requiring all staff and students to use hand sanitizer or
Yes.
wash hands regularly.
Yes.
Oops. There we are. There we go. Since the return to school, elementary students are attending school 5 days a week, and high school students are learning through a mix of in-person and online learning. Considering the approach chosen by the Government of Ontario, using a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 means you're not concerned at all, and 5 means you're very concerned, please indicate your level of concern with each of the following. How concerned are you with your child catching COVID-19 at school?
Number 1.
1 is not concerned at all.
Yeah.
5 is very concerned.
Yeah.
All right. With education workers catching COVID-19 at school, how concerned are you with that?
Number 2.
With your ability to support your children's education and handle your work and other responsibilities. How concerned are you with your ability to support your children's education and work and other responsibilities?
Number 3.
With your child missing key events like school plays and graduation.
Number 1.
With your child missing out on the social aspects of school like having lunch with friends and hanging out.
Number 1.
With the possibility that there will be no extracurricular activities like clubs and sports.
Number 1.
With your child falling behind academically.
Behind. Number 2.
And with your child catching COVID-19 while taking a school bus.
Number 2.
Miss, using a scale from 1 to 5 again, where 1 means not effective at all and 5 means very effective, please indicate how effective you believe each of the following measures will be in keeping kids and staff safe in school. A $50 million investment in improving ventilation and air quality in schools. How effective would that be? 1 is not effective at all, 5 is very effective.
Number 2.
Allowing school boards to access some of the $500 million in reserve funds to support local initiatives, like finding new space to improve social distancing. How effective would that be between 1 and 5?
Number 2.
Hiring an additional 625 public health nurses to visit the schools to test, monitor, and educate students and staff about safety.
Number 5.
Hiring 1,300 new custodial staff to enhance cleaning in schools.
Number 5.
This thinking of those same measures announced by the government, please indicate if you've seen or heard evidence of the following in your child's school. Have you seen or heard anything of a $50 million investment in improving ventilation and air quality in schools?
I don't know.
Hiring an additional 625 public health nurses to visit schools to test, monitor, and educate students and staff about safety? Have you seen or heard anything about that at your child's school?
No, I don't know.
Allowing the school boards to access some of the $500 million in reserve funds to support local initiatives, like finding new space to improve social distancing. Have you seen or heard that
No,
in your child's school?
I don't know.
And hiring 1,300 new custodial staff to enhance cleaning in schools.
I think so.
Again, using the same scale from 1 to 5, where 1 means not confident at all and 5 means very confident, please indicate how confident you are that the Government of Ontario has developed an effective plan of action if there is an outbreak of COVID-19 in a school. How confident are you that there's an effective plan of action? 1
5.
is you're not... I'm sorry, repeat that again?
Number 5.
Thank you. And finally, using a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 means you strongly disagree, 5 means you strongly agree. Please indicate your level of agreement with the following statement. The teachers' unions are working with the government to get kids back to school safely. 1 is you strongly disagree, 5 is you strongly
Number
agree.
5.
Miss, to help us analyze the data, could you please tell me which of the following age categories you belong to? Would you be 35 to 44, younger or older?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
What was your total household income before taxes last year? Less than 20,000, 20 to 40, 40 to 60, 60 to 80, 80 to 100, 100 to 120, 120 to 140, 140 to 160 or 160 and over?
160 and over.
Miss, do you live in an urban area, such as a city, town, or village, or rural, such as an estate lot, acreage, farm, or the country?
Urban.
Finally, are you currently working from home?
Mixed.
So part-time at home and part-time at work?
Yeah.
Do you work at one or the other more? And you work at home more or outside more, do you think?
Home more.
Okay. Those are all the questions. Thank you for taking the time in the survey today. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank you.
day. Bye bye.
You too. Bye now.